Our Cold One Riders, both variants, and you can pass 6.3. Where we left off after I poured praise on Feral Cold Ones despite being such a cheap unit, or perhaps because of it and what it brings at that level, left the question of how the big brother units with actual Saurus Senpai riders fare in comparison. Also, as a general rule, people used to never recruit the War Club version. Maybe I can change a few minds on that, but either way, they have strengths. Let's look at that fairly. Recruited for 850 gold and 215 upkeep, the regular riders come on Ultra scale with 48 entities and 6,480 health. Armor is 90, and there is no unshielded version. But the shield only blocks 30% of small arms fire from the front. Leadership is 75, same as the Foot Saurus units, but speed 66 and charge speed 100 feel unbalanced on the slow side for regular maneuvering. It's a clear downside of the unit. There's a dramatic increase when charging, obviously. Melee attack starts at 31, and attack interval 4.4 is markedly slower than the foot units. There is no splash damage. Melee defense of 28 is equal to the Saurus warriors without shields. Weapon strength comes at 50, split base 15, and armor piercing 35, so somewhat higher than Feral Cold Ones, with most of the increase being against lower armored targets. Charge bonus is 32, and mass is a hefty 1500. The Spears unit comes for 1000 gold and 250 upkeep, a sharp uptick. The entities, health, leadership, and speed remain the same. Melee attack begins at 26 or 5 worse. Attack interval 4.2, which is actually faster, which compares oddly with Saurus Spears, which are slower than their warrior's counterpart. No splash. Melee defense starts at 28, which is the same. Weapon strength comes at 48, or barely below the usual, split base 14 and armor piercing 34, with a bonus versus large of 14, split along the base to AP ratio. That also increases the melee attack, so it's melee attack 40 against Centaurs or Empire Knights. Well, unless you're charging into them. Charge bonus is 32 again, and the mass is 1500 again. Thus, there is mostly upside with the Spears version, a very slight weapon strength nerf against infantry, but substantial gain against cavalry, and melee attack starts 5 worse. Both versions lack Feral Rage right from the start, have Hide in Forest, and causes fear. Both have the Predatory Fighter boost of melee attack plus 5 and plus 25% speed when enemies recently fought are fleeing nearby. Primal instincts for when fighting under 50% health, and that charge bonus is juicy under such circumstances. Also, these Saurus riders have predatory senses to sniff out hiding and stealth enemies. Sorry, Eshin Maneater. I mention this because Feral Cold Ones don't have that. No riders, you see. In the Redline skills, Swift Rider at 3 pips gives badly needed speed plus 10% and weapon strength plus 8% is just nice. Soul Bound gives rank 7 and above, melee attack and defense plus 5, and missile resistance plus 15%. In the tech tree, Sequence of the Hunt instantly gives melee attack plus 5 and weapon strength plus 10%, really good. Preternatural Swiftness adds plus 10% speed of its own. Sequence of the Ferocity adds plus 10 charge bonus flat to them, and provides Strider, which strips them of terrain movement and combat penalties and apparently fatigue movement penalties too, as in, to speed. Enhanced Instinct slaps on plus 2 recruit rank. So how do we use Cold One Riders both types? I show against Empire Knights, but the Spears variant needed to be thrown against Chaos Knights of Slaanesh just to make it a fair fight, one they carry just with far, far less margin for error. They absolutely crushed Empire Knights, the bonus versus large and armor piercing just dominated them completely. So that's how Spears do, and if you use them as honorary shock cavalry, they do just fine against infantry as well. The regulars are an interesting case because they've been one turn to recruit for a while now. Sure, they cost more than Feral Cold Ones, which lose Feral with the right tech, but they still have more entities, more health, a lot more leadership, and a little bit of most everything else including melee attack and charge bonus. Having 5 better base melee attack means that the Spears version only has 9 better against the Empire Knights example, and they're still 90 armor and heavily armor piercing. In other words, they'll trade even better in that fight than Feral Cold Ones, and those did absolutely fine. So they're better than that unit in basically all respects, and a bit better than Spears at dumping on infantry, but basically you should acknowledge them as actually really melee cavalry, legit in staying and fighting. Also keep in mind, Saurus warriors do not cause fear. They do lots of damage over time, but they don't do that specifically. Thus, charging and breaking opponents triggering everyone's predatory fighter buff is a very good thing to do in source-heavy armies. The spears are very good at taking the fight to ogres and similar styles of foes. Just don't feel bad about bringing the regulars, especially if clubbing down against dwarfs or storm vermin. They're plenty good at it, just don't get cocky around armor-piercing anti-large. That's their bane. Take care, and have fun serving revenge cold!